So I picked up this bad boy at Goodwill for 10 bucks. It is a Kodak M28 Instamatic Super 8 camera. Doing some research, it looks like it was made between 1969 and 1975. It was 10 bucks, so I picked it up. I hadn't looked at Super 8 film since high school, and it turns out that 3 minutes worth is now $40 to $50, which seems a little silly to spend 50 bucks on 3 minutes of footage in 2021. So I looked into converting it to some sort of digital camera. The solution that I came to, I've found 2 videos on it so far, and the first solution that I saw was basically to use Arduino to build a second camera and put it inside the first camera, which seemed to sort of defeat the purpose. And the second one, the guy basically just smashed the whole thing open with a hammer and then shoved a webcam inside. So my goal is to be able to convert this to some sort of digital format while still keeping the original optics in place. And because that's the point, right? You can just take footage with your phone and make it look like 16mm footage, but I think part of the charm is not just the warmth and the grain of the film, but the effect from the optics itself. I always thought that the zoom was especially charming in Super 8 footage. So basically the project is going to be first step is to take this apart. I'm going to start with this inside panel here. I'm hoping that I'm not going to have to cut this panel off, but this came in the box. It looks like it used to go there. So an option would be to cut this panel open and then do whatever I need to do and then glue that back in. Ultimately, the first step is going to be remove any parts that aren't conducive to taking digital footage. So the motor, the shutter assemblies obviously got to go. And then the second step is going to be to take this GoPro Hero 3 Plus that I had lying around and take this apart and reassemble it into this. It seems pretty doable. The sensor size on the GoPro Hero 3 looks to be about 4.5 by 5.5 millimeters. The 8mm window is obviously 8 millimeters. So we should be able to do this with a bit of wiggle room. And obviously the goal is to keep as much of the original optics and hardware in place as we can so that it functions the way that it was originally intended with a digital format. So I've got my Torx screwdriver. I've got my brand new plastic camera and other electronic components pulley aparty pick set, which I wish I knew about like 10 years ago instead of pulling electronics apart with my bare hands and a screwdriver like a damn caveman. So hopefully that'll help. Yeah, let's do this. so this is kind of cool. I mentioned that I want to keep the zoom assembly in place and sort of the lens assembly in place as much as I can. I just wanted to show you this, just so this is the zoom, and this is, you can see it manipulating that in the rangefinder there, which is pretty cool. Looks like this rangefinder assembly is totally separate, which I'd sort of assumed. And you can see in here as this moves back and forth that it's adjusting this as well. So you saw me cut into this earlier. I'm trying very hard not to cut into this just because stuff gets weird when you do, but I have a feeling I'm gonna have to cut into this over here in order to get to the tasty innards there. It wasn't really working out here. This was kind of cool. There was a whole gear assembly here. It actually felt a little guilty taking that out, but you know, it is what it is. All right, so I had to turn the video off for a second because I wanted to shoot the light through the front of the camera. Yeah, it's gonna get all dusted off. That motor's not going anywhere. The motor's gonna stay where it is. It's not worth trying to take it out. For extra credit, I wanted to make this trigger the actual GoPro. I don't know if that's gonna work either, but the goal now is to get into the shutter assembly here. Let me see if I can, down there, and basically we want to prop that shutter open and leave it open so that when we shine light through the lens, it will actually hit the sensor, which is going to be there, that window. Alright, so I was seriously overcomplicating this. This is not rocket science. So basically, just, you know, I'm sitting here looking at all of these complicated parts, and essentially, you know, so this here moves up and down, moves the shutter, the motor turns that. You can see that wheel that kind of flips that up and down. But ultimately, the only thing that we're really concerned about is light getting in here and coming out here. That is the basis of all photography. So to that end, instead of dealing with all these mechanics and pulling all these gears out and trying to get the motor out, I just yanked out the shutter. There it is. Boom. So now, let's see if we can, I don't know if we're going to be able to do this. So you can see, there it goes, all the way through. Boom. Done. So now, the next step is to dust all of this out and then glue this bastard back together, and then we'll start doing the hard part, which is assembling the GoPro within there. Alright, I'm calling an audible. Looking at the inside of that GoPro and looking at the inside of that 8mm camera, it's going to be too tight a fit without having to, I'm just afraid of breaking it. So plan B is this little webcam. Should be able to fit in there a lot more easily. I'll cut or drill a tiny hole in the back of the 8mm. We'll send this out. I grabbed this little adapter to be able to plug it into my phone, and that's hopefully how we'll be able to do it. All right. so now's the really tricky part. There is the window for the original film. Here is the sensor, that shiny green thing, the webcam I just took apart. Looks like that pokey thing in the middle is the microphone, which is not necessary. So now we've got to figure out how to get this flush with this. I have no idea how I'm going to achieve that. As you can see, it doesn't quite fit. So, try to figure something out. All right, it's done, sort of. So, yeah, sorry I couldn't show the last part. I had to test it running it back and forth to my computer. So, inside here, the sensor is flush with the film window. The experiment had two unforeseen consequences. The first is that you have to shoot upside down because the way that I place the sensor, it's upside down from where the camera used to be. Secondly is it is macro only. I think the reason for that is probably the sensor size. It's a very small sensor, and my guess is that webcam lenses are probably super fisheye lenses in order to compensate for that. I don't know. Let's find out here. I don't know if that worked, but yeah. So I'm gonna use the housing from the original camera, the original webcam. I'm gonna cut it, do a cutout, and use that as sort of a housing for this chipset. I didn't want to modify the camera too much, but I did end up having to obviously have this little chip sticking out of it. So, but the lens and the zoom assembly are in place still, and that was the overall goal. So mission accomplished. I'll dust this off, close it up, and then we'll do a demo. So as you can see, those were pretty preliminary experimental images. I just went out into my backyard, took a few snapshots. It's Portland in January, so there's not a lot back there to shoot. Obviously, I'm not going to be replacing my Canon 7D with it anytime soon, but it's fun, and I'd like to get it into my rotation and play around with it. And when I have something else to show you guys, I definitely will. I did want to show you the finished result. It's actually this is how it has to be held now. So as you can see, I took the case from the original webcam, used that to cover that chip. Took a gear from the inside of the camera to glue on, make a little makeshift faceplate. So it's not the prettiest thing I've ever made, but it works. so to speak. So, yeah, once I have anything else, I'll definitely be sure to post it. Thanks for watching.